Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be talking about the latest Kabam announcement that I absolutely did not see coming, and that is the fact that Kabam is going to be nerfing Act 4 and 5. And I'm sure this announcement is going to stir up some discussion based on your personal perspective of when you did this piece of content and whether this is actually helpful to you. Now that said, ultimately, this is going to be helpful thing that makes it a lot easier for new summoners to complete Acts 4 and 5, and probably will make it more worthwhile for them as well. There will, however, be the other perspective to this issue from the point of view that you have done this story content, you pushed through it, let's say half a year ago or a year ago or 2 years ago, and now people who do it now not only will have easier time doing it, they will also be able to do it quicker because they will reduce the nodes and paths and whatnot, and they have better champions to do it with right now than we used to, and they're going to be getting better rewards for it. And Kabam is not going to be sending out the difference in the rewards to the players who explored this longer than 90 days ago. Now, they are saying that they're not sending these rewards out to everybody because these reward change would not help anyone, who's endgame. To which I kind of have to disagree, because whether you're Paragon and whether you're proven, everybody needs ISO, everybody needs gold. So as long as Kabam is giving out some 4-star crystals or 4-star shards or 5-star shards, those things are actually helpful to Paragon players, because ISO 8 and gold is still one of the biggest issues for even high level accounts in this game, regardless of their story progression level. So I kind of call bullshit on that. Right, so first let's break down the post itself, and then I'm gonna perhaps put my perspective or more experienced players perspective out for this. But before we go into any kind of like negatives or back in my day type of stories, I do want to acknowledge that this change will be helpful for newer players, probably. In reality, it's going to be helpful more so for Kabam, because I don't think it's all that great that there's no more challenging content really left in the game for you to kind of have to push through. Remembering, doing this content in early days of the game when I had to use like a 4-star Iron Man or superior Iron Man to do this content, and now people can, pick up a Hercules or CGR and just push through it. There's a massive difference, in terms of difficulty based on the champions that are available alone, let alone, rank up materials that you can get for side events, and the fact that most people doing like Act 5 or 4 will probably be using a 6-star champion, versus when we did it, we had 4 stars and 3 stars for that stuff. So there's quite a lot to look at, but effective August 7th, they will be revamping Act 4 and 5, addressing some pain points that have held summoners back. And with that, it's just, I think Kabam is really kind of like using kind of like kitchen gloves to handle oversensitive new players. Because it's clear that they have changed the game from something where there is challenging content. Like Act 5 used to be, in my opinion, pretty much perfectly balanced content that was not easy, not insanely hard, but it was fun at the time. And Act 6, again, many people hated, and I understand why. But at least Act 6 was a proper challenge, and since then, Kabam has definitely moved away from releasing challenging solo content. Even Abyss is, I wouldn't call it overly challenging. Most of the problems in Abyss came from you have run out of charges, it's time for you to die. So, Acts 4 and 5 were identified as particular progression pain points for summoners in our mid game, and I think it's primarily just because of the length of it. But if Kabam is making Act 4 and 5 much easier, then ultimately these people will not learn how to deal with Bane, will not learn how to deal with masochism and stuff like that. And that's going to be detrimental for them going forward. The intention with this revamp is to streamline the summoner's experience as they do not stumble into a difficulty spike that feels unfair. And here, this is another thing where I'd say that the difficulty spike from Act 3, 4, 5, and 6, the biggest one is with Act 6. And that purely comes from the fact that you can't use 4 stars for synergies or for anything else, and you need to kind of like work with what you have. And Act 6 in general, even though it has been nerfed 3 times or 4 times already, is still, arguably the hardest story content. Some of the changes to Acts 4 and 5 will include removing class and character gates. I think that's fine. Removing excess link nodes, reducing ambushes, removing hidden and randomized elements, reducing total fights on some paths and replace the repeat offenders, so less fights in general. Removing role reversal global nodes from Act 5. Why? Why is role reversal a problem? Removing camera lock in Act 5, that is a good thing. And
Shut up and take my money.
Removing the gate and key
Heinz,
system.
$11.11.
Thank
Who's
you,
the
Heinz,
big
by
guy?
the way. And one of the major pain points we have addressed in this ramp-up difficulty nodes, node combinations, while some of them will still be around, they will now be confined to a path or two and not the whole quest, meaning completion will be much more manageable for some. Worth noting that Maestro Collector and Ultron bosses remain unchanged. And as mentioned, rewards are also being returned to retuned to more appropriately assist summoners in their journey through mid-game story content. The differential in these rewards will also be sent to summoners who completed the Acts 4 or 5 in the last 90 days. These summoners are most in need of the reworked rewards in order to power through their story content journey. Conversely, the players who completed this content longer than 90 days ago do not need ISO, do not need gold, and will not get any rewards. Okay, what they're really saying is will likely find these rewards unhelpful with the challenges they are currently tackling, which is bullshit. Let's face it. This is again an absolute gaslighting bullshit. Every single player in this game that's not dropping fat stacks of cash need ISO and need gold. Facts right there. So this is just gaslighting 101. If they give as much as extra 4-star crystal, even a Paragon player, can use that. Because, yeah, ISO, 24 bricks of ISO ain't nothing. I know a lot of people who are using their, incursions currency to buy 4 stars. So, again, that's the situation. And I don't like it. I don't like it. I think Kabam is turning all content in the game in basically, Kabam is retuning everything in this game into an easy mode. This game already feels like it's becoming less and less pointless to play it rather than spend in it. And this is a perfect example of why and how. Because when this content initially came out, obviously it was as hard as it was ever going to be. And with every single passing day, Act 4 and 5 has gotten comparatively easier. Why? Because it's easier to acquire rank up materials, even in early game, through side events, side quests, objectives, and whatnot. And through higher choice of champions that you can utilize and learn how to use them. And this is the type of content that forced people to get better, that learned how to work with timers when you needed to manage pain, that taught you how to deal with masochism. And I think if there is a very big discrepancy of people who are just not exploring Act 4 and 5, it has pretty much everything to do with the length of it and the lack of relevant rewards, not necessarily with difficulty in it. So I think, the only kind of change that makes sense is, make it shorter, make it cost less energy. But making the fights, easier and whatnot, and all of these changes. Again, I'm sure that in short term, every new player is going to be happy about it because, hey, you need to do less to explore the content or complete it or push through it in progress. But in long term, whether it will be a helpful thing, because quite literally, vast majority of the players plow through game until they have to deal with masochism and Bane and those 5.2 chapters. And I know for a fact because a lot of people ask me for help with those nodes and ask for help with those particular quests, and I have made specific videos. Therefore, this is the type of situation where if a school decides to let you skip a grade for no goddamn reason, kind of like if you're meant to learn basic math in primary school, but the school just decides to admit you, to the next grade without teaching you the basic math, kind of expecting you to know it. And then, you don't understand anything that's going on in your next grade because you haven't learned how to deal with these nodes. That's what I think of it. I think that there will be a lot of younger progression players that are happy that story content becomes easier, but I think that ultimately it doesn't help them because Act 5 is where you start learning. Act 5 is the very beginning of the idea that it's not enough to take a champion, not get hit in the face, and you're gonna, cruise through it. Act 5 is where you actually start learning, block bait heavy attacks or intercept or not relying on parry because of masochism. And again, managing timers. And managing timers is a very big part of this game because so many champions require it to be effective. And changing rewards, I'm fine with it. Kabam's full with shit, about not sending the rewards to the rest of the player base, but improving the rewards in general for the story content, I'm not against it. The rewards in story content are outdated as fudge, and players getting more for it, fine. I don't mind it. I think it is again an absolute gaslighting and bullshit reason not to send the rewards to the rest of the players out, because as I said before, everybody can use gold and everybody can use ISO unless you drop mad stacks on the game. But the fact that they are improving the rewards in itself, I think, is fine. Is good. Why not? I wish they improved more rewards. I wish they improved like labyrinth rewards and abyss rewards over time and stuff like that. But we'll leave it there. I do think it's bullshit again that they're not sending it to everybody. But reducing difficulty, I'm just kind of tired of it. They just continuously keep reducing difficulty for every single piece of content. And then they're kind of like surprised that whenever they do actually release a semi-difficult piece of content, everybody runs to forums and screams that, Kabam is cash grab, that this fight is impossible, and that this is too hard. Like, we still have every month or every other month somebody running to forums complaining that, new hindered boss is too hard, the new Lady Deathstrike boss is too hard, for side events, and those are not hard boss fights. And this is the type of attitude that kind of makes it happen, because Kabam is removing all the semi-challenging content and making it easier for progressing players, and then the players who are starting the game right now never properly learn how to fight. And obviously, it's good for Kabam because then they will end up using more revives and whatnot later on because they have never properly learned to fight. So I don't know. I don't like it. I genuinely don't like. You can revamp Act 4 and 5, fine. Make it slightly shorter, improve the rewards. I get it. Make it easier though. I don't think it's a great thing. Let me know what you guys think though. Definitely interested hearing your perspective, especially if you are a newer player, somebody who perhaps hasn't explored Act 4 or 5 yet. I'd be very interested to hear from you. And also, if you explored Act 4 when it came out, because the level of difficulty Act 4s and 5 hold right now compared to what they used to be is day and night. But yeah, I'll catch you guys soon. Bye. Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about